The turning point wasn't sobriety itself. The turning point was when I realized how exhausted I was and just trying to control myself. Moderation seemed like the better choice. It was a lot more desirable than going sober was, but it was really a total trap. Stick here with me and we're going to chat more about the pitfalls of moderation. You're hanging here with Jennifer Sack. Hey there, I'm Jennifer Sack, and I help sober curious and sober ready individuals transition into their sober lifestyle with courage, with clarity, and with confidence, taking the fear out of it. So, of course, moderation seems like the better choice of them all. You kind of secretly don't want to quit. There's a part of you that is afraid of transitioning into that lifestyle. So you're like, yeah, this is the next step. This is a safer choice. This is like the baby step or just dipping my toes in the water of sobriety. I'm going to moderate. I'm going to control this. I'm going to still be able to participate and have fun and not cut it out and go cold turkey. And you think that's a great choice. Of course we do. We don't really want to quit on some level, right? So then the next thing kicks in. What is reasonable? What is my moderation going to look like for me? So then we go into the slew of what's socially acceptable versus what's acceptable for yourself. When you look at your life, the elements of your life, if you have children, a job, all your responsibilities, and then there's the part of you that secretly really knows what it wants. And it wants a lot more than moderation is going to allow. So there's always this inner conflict about like, well, what does that look like? So then that becomes the new obsession. What does my moderation look like? And then the next thing is you start negotiating all the time, tweaking it a little bit because one day it didn't work. This time you said you were going to have X amount and you had Y amount, and you keep just kind of trying to tweak how much, when, with whom, all of the elements. You are thinking about it constantly. It is your new obsession. It's taking up a ton of mental bandwidth. And then it creates this sort of like anticipation until the moment when you can actually use or drink. And then you have the relief of that moment when it comes, right? And then you have sort of the crash and the low after that when you're like, oh, now I have to wait for the next time. And you're just kind of in this like lowly state, anticipating again. So it's like anticipation, relief, crash over and over again. And that is totally exhausting. And you feel like you're always planning out your peace. Those are your only peaceful moments, and you're planning them out and you're just waiting for them all the time. That's not moderation, my friends. That is obsession. It takes a ton of energy, and you're not helping yourself. All that to say that the real peace doesn't come from moderation. You think that that will bring peace because then you're not going to have to go through the scary transition to sobriety, but you're not going to be the hot mess you were before. You think that this is going to bring you to a place of feeling stable, sustainable. But here's the reality: there's a part of you that knows the truth inside of what you're doing and how it doesn't feel aligned anymore. And then there's the part of you that is clinging to this old way of being, to the coping mechanisms, to the social life, to all the private moments that you enjoy in those ways that you use your substances of choice. There's the part of you that's clinging, okay? It wants that security blanket. It's bargaining for comfort. So there's the part of you that knows, the part of you that wants comfort. And that's where the divide is happening. And that's where the energy is being expended because there's always going to be this rub, this resistance, and it's going to create a ton of friction in you. And you will never stop churning in the cycle. You will never hit that sweet spot that you're really attaining for, that your goal is like, I'm just going to find that sweet spot. You'll never hit it because you will always want more. If you're someone who's truly like addicted and has issues with this, you're not the person who's just like, yeah, take it or leave it. I'm not talking to that kind of person. I'm not that kind of person. So I don't relate to you. I think you're in the wrong place. What I'm saying is, if you're one of those who really has a true addiction, has been coping for some time, that truly relies on these things, it's never going to be enough for you. So there's always going to be that part of you that wants more. And then there's going to be the part of you that knows better, that knows this isn't aligned, that knows this is not the choice that you really truly want to be making for yourself. Those two parts of yourself will divide you and they will fight constantly. That's where the battle is, and that's where you're going to get caught. You're going to get caught, and there's going to be a huge tug of war inside of you, and you're going to be totally exhausted from it. The peace doesn't come from that control at all. It creates a monster. The peace comes when you just relinquish the tug of war entirely. So it's funny too, because the relief really comes before the sobriety. Once you make the decision that you're transitioning and you're like, I'm not going back, I'm not going back to that. Once that decision hits, you will start to feel relief. Not because you have moved through and you're like, understand how to be sober and what that's going to look like. You don't. The relief comes from the end of the tug of war, the end of the mental debate. You're just instantly like, whew, like you just dropped a heavy load. You will be instantly relieved if you can truly make a hardcore decision, right? And that is really the relief of just ending the argument. And if you can reframe it as that, reframe it as you're not losing something, you're not giving anything up, things will change. They are gonna, but it's okay because it's for the better. So if you can let go of like the thought I'm losing so much and think of it of like I'm ending this argument, like I'm done with this. I'm winning a battle, truly. And that's going to help you reframe that. That's going to help you stick to your decision and realize that the control that you want to take is not over the substance. The control's over your own mental warfare, yourself. I want you to think about all the times that you've tried to moderate in the past, if you have, and really reflect on how that went for you. How much time did you spend obsessing over how much and when and who with and all of that? Did it end up working? Probably not if you're watching this. Probably not. Why didn't it work for you? Like, really consider that. For me, moderation was not a safety net. It was really more of a trap. And that's because of the mental warfare and rules around it and the control around it. It feels like the responsible thing to do, but secretly, it will just run your life. It'll just run your life even more. And you don't need any more of that. So the relief really comes from not having to decide, not having to regulate, not having to control anything. It just comes from one decision to be done. And then it's over. And then you can exhale and relax. So if you're sober curious and you're tired of the back and forth, I really encourage you to watch my free online workshop called Enough is Enough. It's going to really dive deeper into the mental negotiation that revolves around the fears that we have in transitioning to our sober lifestyle. And in the meantime, I just invite you to keep hanging out here, subscribe for more content as we talk more about this, normalize the fears that revolve around getting sober and work through them together. Thanks so much for hanging out with me, friends.